What is going on, Raider Nation? It's your boy Sanjeet. Today we are going live, man. It's been a while. I've been thinking about going live, and uh, what better day to do it than Fourth of July, man? Big shout out to all of you guys that are here. Let's get into this, man. There's so much going on around the Las Vegas Raiders, as you guys know. Um, we're in a time period where there's not really much news, but we are about a month away, and training camp's gonna be right there. I'll probably get some roster moves and transactions and stuff like that. But um, man, it's been a crazy couple of weeks to months, man. There's so much news. We're getting so much hate towards the Raiders, which is kind of crazy to think. But before I go forward, man, I guess I should just say a couple of things. First and foremost, I want to say happy birthday to Al Davis. As you guys know, July 4th is Al Davis's birthday. At the same time, I want to say happy 4th of July to everybody out there. Independence Day, probably my favorite holiday of the year. It's 4th of July, man. It represents freedom, freedom that people I feel like kind of take granted here in the United States. You don't have the same freedoms in other parts of the world that you do here in the US. So I'm very thankful for 4th of July. It really represents something major, in my opinion, at least. So happy 4th of July to everybody out there. We're going to talk some Raiders football today, man. Again, I haven't went live in a while, so let's talk, man, and put your guys' questions in the comments. I really want to know how you guys are feeling about the Las Vegas Raiders. I want to know what you guys think about the Raiders. I want to know what you guys think about this team. Are we actually Super Bowl bound, or are we not Super Bowl bound? Right? There's so much talk around the Las Vegas Raiders and stuff. So big shout out to everybody here, man. I see all of your guys' comments already. First one came from XX Bubba 420. Shout out to you. We got a couple of other stuff. Aunt Six Soldier. Shout out to you, man. I really appreciate all the support. I always see all your comments. Big shout out to you. Uh, Man, today's gonna be such an interesting talk because going live, it's a little bit different than the videos that I make on the daily. Going live, we can actually get into like the nitty gritty stuff of kind of what's going on around the Raiders. And it's interesting if you guys really think about it, right? We don't really know what our offensive line is going to be from left tackle to right tackle. And like every position, there are battles, even at the center position. I know some people believe it's going to be Andre James, but I remember seeing an interview with Andre James recently. I think it was on the Las Vegas Raiders report with Mitchell Renz. I believe it was him that asked him the question about how he kind of felt about the offensive line. And Andre James said that even his job technically is not safe. So it's just crazy when you think about it that Andre James, doesn't feel like his job is safe. I see a lot of happy 4th of July. So big shout out to all you guys, Miguel. I see all of you guys' comments. Ryan said, let them count us out. We'll just make the season that much sweeter when we ball out. I actually recently saw some comments from Brett Favre as well. And I was actually going to make a video on this, but we'll just get into it right now. How Brett Favre said that Davante Adams is basically not going to be as good with Derek Carr as he was with Davante Adams or with Aaron Rodgers. And, it's crazy to me because Brett Favre also went on to say that Derek Carr has never had good weapons, right? He's never had the type of seasons that Aaron Rodgers has had. But I believe last year, technically, Derek Carr, I believe, had more yards than Aaron Rodgers, right? And keep in mind, Derek Carr has never really had top wide receivers. And the one time when Derek Carr did have top tier wide receivers, right? Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, even Seth Roberts was a good slot wide receiver in that season. He was an MVP caliber player. I think he was like second or third in votes in terms of MVPs, and maybe he would have been MVP had he not gotten hurt that year, right? So what we know is the one time Derek Carr actually had good weapons, he was an MVP caliber player, right? So just something to kind of think about. But let's get into these comments, man. Jonathan said, happy 4th, brother, to you and your family. I appreciate that, man. I really, really, really do. Anthony said, facts, happy birthday to the godfather of the Raiders, Al Davis. Man, they'll never be another Al Davis, man. It's crazy because, you think about these people while they're alive and you may overlook them and then they pass away and you realize that that guy was special, man. He's something different. Personally, for me, Kobe Bryant is one of those type of people, growing up as a Sacramento Kings fan. Kobe Bryant used to kill us every year, man. And he had a special hate for the Kings, and maybe not hate, but he understood where the Kings were in terms of the NBA. And I used to hate Kobe Bryant when I was younger. But as I got older, I started liking his attitude. I respected it, right? And he obviously passed away super young, but you don't realize these type of people that are around until they pass. And obviously, Al Davis, in my opinion, is one of those guys, man. So big shout out to him. Happy birthday to Al. I see a lot of you guys' questions. Jonathan said, how do we feel we will do with this roster so far? Just from a broad perspective, I love where the Las Vegas Raiders roster is. It's crazy because I say things like the Raiders are Super Bowl bound. We're going to make a Super Bowl push this year. And some people on every one of my comments say, you're tripping. There's no way the Raiders are going to make the playoffs this year. There's no way the Raiders are going to make a Super Bowl push this year. And it's crazy to me to think that we literally made the playoffs last year, and our team was way worse last year. Like, we upgraded at the most important positions, right? To have production on the offense side of the ball, you have to have great wide receivers, and we got that with Davante Adams. You need a great pass rusher to win at the end of the games. We got that with Chandler Jones, right? We upgraded from Yannick Ngakoue to Chandler Jones. So, from a broader perspective, I think the Raiders are going to be so much better this year. And we'll get into the positional units in a second as we kind of go through these comments. Sanjeet, when are you going to make a Madden Raiders franchise series? Big shout out to you, Jose, for this. If you guys don't know, I have a second YouTube channel. Actually, it's probably like my third or fourth YouTube channel. But I have another YouTube channel. It's called ST Game, where I was making Madden-related franchise videos. And I stopped making them because the actual draft happened, and I didn't want to continue the franchise with guys that are not on the team, right? Like Ed Ingram was a guard that I took in the Madden franchise, and he ended up going to the Minnesota Vikings. A couple other players like that as well. But my point is those will come back when Madden 23 drops. I had the beta of Madden 23, and I had franchise, and I was going to actually just start recording, but they put this logo on there where it says like your name and has like a number. And basically, if you post any videos of you playing the newest Madden using the beta, they ban you. They'll ban your account. So I wasn't able to post the videos, but I definitely will have some videos coming. So it's going to be interesting, man. Thank you for that comment. Black Magic said, Sac City, how about Keegan Murray? He had a game, man, a couple days ago, and some bands went viral, man. It's kind of embarrassing, honestly. And we're going to get to Raiders talk, but I just want to tell this story really quickly. If you guys haven't seen the viral video, there's these Kings fans that came out of the arena after Keegan Murray, I think, drops 26 points or something in one of those like summer league games, right? And these fans came out yelling, saying, yeah, we're going to win 40 games this year. And it's sad because in the NBA, 40 games is still a losing record. And that's kind of the state of the Sacramento Kings, man. That's where we're at right now. But if you guys haven't seen that video, it's an interesting, funny video. Happy 4th to you, Michael. Big shout out to you. Regis, I think that's how you say your name. I'm a Raider, but our scheme and coaching will have to get us to Super Bowl. I still think Buffalo is better than us right now. Thoughts? I don't disagree with that. I think the Buffalo Bills are better than the Raiders. You can even look at a team like the Chiefs and say until the Raiders actually beat them, we can't say we're a better team than them, right? And I will also say this, right? From a roster perspective, our roster is just as good as all these other teams. I think the difference is scheme and coaching, right? People don't realize how big of an impact coaching and your scheme has on teams winning. But that's why you can have a team like the New England Patriots. Tom Brady gets hurt, they still win 10, 11 games. You get a team like the Cardinals who literally made a switch of the quarterback when they brought in Kyler Murray, and they're going from winning like 2 games to they're in the playoffs. It's literally the following season. Scheme and coaching is such a big part. Jared Goff was a bust under Jeff Fisher. I believe Jared Goff was drafted under Jeff Fisher. He was a rookie. Maybe he had his second year under Jeff Fisher, and he was considered a bust. People started writing him off. And then here comes Sean McVay, this young kid, this bright mind. And out of nowhere, Jared Goff's going to the Super Bowl, right? Scheme and coaching does that, right? And for Derek Carr, like scheme and coaching of Derek Carr can make Derek Carr an MVP. Like we've seen that. And you can argue that the scheme and coaching helped Derek Carr get there. And I think Josh McDaniels has that opportunity. I think there are definitely teams that right now, because they have better coaches than us, they are ranked higher than us, right? The Bills, even the Chiefs have better coaching than us. I don't know if the Chiefs have a better team than the Raiders, right? And they definitely have a better quarterback. They definitely have a better coach. But outside of those two things, you can argue the Raiders are better than the Chiefs at every other position, and maybe not offensive line either. But outside of that, like, there's definitely some good people out there in terms of coaching and scheme that are able to take average teams and make them really good, right? Um, Eric Delk, I appreciate the chat, by the way. Eric Delk said, we have to sign a right tackle. I am not being sure if Leatherwood can get better. It's not worth Carr getting hurt. If Carr gets hurt, we're done. If Leatherwood struggles, I don't think that's going to lead to Carr getting hurt. I think what that means for us is that Leatherwood just isn't a right tackle. But I think it'd be a big mistake not to let Alex Leatherwood play right tackle. First and foremost, the guy, playing right tackle. First and foremost, the thing with Leatherwood is he can have success at right tackle. There's nothing that's holding him back. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, he's quick, he's super smart. He has everything you need to be a successful right tackle. Imagine if back in 2018, Colt Miller gave up 16, 17 sacks at left tackle, and we said, this guy's trash. Let's get a replacement for him, and let's move him to left guard or something, right? We wouldn't have the Colton Miller today, the guy that's about to become an elite football player. So I think it makes sense. So let's just leave Leatherwood at right tackle. Another thing to kind of think about with Leatherwood is this, right? If Leatherwood can have success at right tackle, we would have both offensive tackles, left and right, for the next 15 years, 10 to 15 years. And we'd have really good tackles too, assuming Leatherwood actually pans out. But I say we keep him at right tackle for this year, and we'll see where he's at in a year from now. I don't think him allowing Derek Carr, him getting beat and Derek Carr taking hits, I don't think that's going to lead to Derek Carr getting hurt. Getting sacked should not lead to Derek Carr getting hurt, especially since it's not the blind side, right? It's one thing if you get hit from the left tackle spot. It's different if you get hit from the right side and you're a right-handed quarterback. Another thing to note, I believe it was Jonah Williams, the left tackle of the Bengals. Year one, I think he was out for the entire year. Year two, he was doing really, really, really poorly. And in year three, he took off, and he's really good now. People would argue Jonah Williams may be one of the best left tackles in the league, top 5 to 6 left tackle. So development is a big thing, and I just wouldn't want to give up on Alex Leatherwood that quickly. What do you guys think about that, though? I want to know what you guys think in the comments below about that. Should the Raiders move on from Alex Leatherwood as far as him being a right tackle, move him to the interior? Let me know what you guys think. Aunt Six says, Sanji, who's our kick returner and punt returner this year? Punt returner is simple. It has to be Hunter Renfrow. I know some people will say, let's not allow Renfrow to get hurt. But I disagree with that. Renfrow is talented. He can catch and make some plays in the punt game, and he's smart, right? Like, if he catches the ball at the 30-yard line, you're going to get 8 yards out of Renfrow every time because he's just smart, right? 30-yard line, now you're at the 38 because that's Renfrow's ability to just maneuver around people and pick those yards up. Kick return is going to be interesting. In the past, Kenyon Drake has returned kicks. Zamir White has not, but I would not be surprised if the Raiders gave him the opportunity. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Tyrone Johnson. The wide receiver. I think it's Tyrone Johnson. Wide receiver, he was with us last year as well. I think he's a good kick returner. He was with the Chargers previously. He's super fast wide receiver. I think that would make the most sense at kick return. But I wouldn't be opposed to giving a couple other guys the opportunity to return kicks as well. I appreciate the question. It's actually a really, really, really good question. Let's get into some of these other questions. Anthony Ruiz said, last they had us in last place, and look what happened. Yeah, last year, man, everyone said the Raiders were the worst team last year, and we started off hot too. What were we, like 3-0 to start the season, or maybe 3-1? I don't remember, but we started the season off hot, or maybe we were 2-1. And the John Gruden thing happened, and the Henry Ruggs thing happened. Darren Waller got hurt. Josh Jacobs was nursing an injury, and we kind of fell off a little bit last year. But the Raiders still had a ton of success last year, and I truly think this year it's going to be different, man. I don't know what it is. I think this is the year the Raiders are going to have a really solid season. But before we continue, I want to give a shout out to a Redemption brand. They sent this hat over to me. It's a brand that one of my good friends, Ray the Tape, created recently, and I want to give a shout out to him because he did not have to, but he sent me the hat for free, and I really, really, really appreciate it. This is not a sponsorship, but I did want to just show some love to him because he did send the hat over, and I love the art, man. I love the logo. I think it's a sick logo. Big shout out to him. Check out the website right here. And support him, man. He's a Raiders content creator. He's launching a Raiders brand, or not necessarily a Raiders brand, but uh, I love it, man. Big shout out to him. Let's get into some of these other questions, though, man. You guys asked some really solid questions, so I always appreciate that. I have the most fun doing live videos, man. Believe it or not, live videos are the best. Not the best talker, you guys could probably tell, but uh, live videos, man, they're always fun. It's always fun to interact, go through some of these comments. I really, hear and listen to what you guys think. So OG Fate said that's silly to even think about moving on from a guy after 1 year. What if we got rid of Colton after 1 year? See, that's the fact, right? We need to give Alex Leatherwood every single opportunity to have success. And we'll see what ends up happening this year, man. There's so much that the Raiders can do this year. This is just one of those years, in my opinion. Durfun said, I love when we're underdogs. We're not good when we're favorites. That's a good point, man. It almost seems like the Raiders have been underdogs for the last 20 years. And understandably, we've sucked for the last 20 years, right? But this should be the year that we don't suck anywhere. This should be the year where the Raiders actually have some success going forward. Let's hope that the Raiders are not only good this year, but let's hope that going into next year, teams say that, or analysts say that the Raiders are a top 5 to 6 team. Like, you say who are the best teams right now. Most people agree it's like, you can say it's like some people even put the Niners up there, honestly, because they've been well run for the last 5 years or so. But most people say it's like the Buccaneers, it's the Chiefs, it's the Bills. And it almost seems like it's like these three teams. Why can't the Raiders be one of these teams that you say, hey, who are the best teams, and instantly comes to your mind the Raiders? Why is it that us fans have to always try making it known that the Raiders are one of the best teams? I don't know. It's kind of annoying, in my personal opinion, that the Raiders can't be given that respect. And I guess you got to go out and prove it. Hopefully this will be the year that we get to go out and actually prove it. The Nation Zone, shout out to you for being a member, man. So what's good, Sanjeet? Today's a great day, man. 4th of July, best time of the year, in my opinion. Super thankful for being in this country, but born and raised in this country. My parents come from a different country, and I've been to that country multiple times, and that country is so much different than this country, man. I'm very thankful for being in this country. So shout out to you, man, and happy 4th of July to everybody out there. I hope you guys are going to be safe out there. I actually learned something new yesterday. Me and my wife went out to go get some fireworks for my baby who's 7 months old. We wanted to do, just some basic fireworks. And apparently fireworks are banned everywhere here in the Bay Area. You can't buy fireworks out here, which is kind of crazy. Learn something new, man. So kind of interesting. But Richard Lopez said, do you think we have enough depth at cornerback? Here's the thing. I think we have enough depth. I just don't know how good that depth is. When you look at the Raiders cornerbacks, what do the Raiders really have? In terms of a guy that, let's say we play a team like the Buffalo Bills or a team like the Minnesota Vikings, right? And we're going to play against Justin Jefferson or Stephon Diggs. And we need a guy to shut these guys down. It's 3rd and 4. The game's on the line. We need to get a stop. Who's going to cover these top tier wide receivers? And that scenario scares me because I don't know if the Raiders have a guy that can step up and make the play when needed. I don't have faith in Trayvon Mullen to be that guy. I don't have faith in Rock Yassin or Anthony Averett. I don't have faith in those guys to line up against one of these guys and shut them down. Now, of course, you can scheme things up. You can double team a guy and stuff like that. But, I just don't know if we have that one cornerback to be a shutdown cornerback. Now, in terms of depth, we have a bunch of good, not good, but we have a bunch of average to good corners. You don't need to have 4 shutdown corners. You need 1 shutdown corner and 3 good corners, right? And I think the Raiders have those good corners. They just don't have that shutdown corner. So hopefully one of the guys we have does develop into that. Now, one of the things I'm looking forward to this year is to see where Nate Hobbs ends up being. Can Nate Hobbs be that shutdown corner for the Raiders? Can Nate Hobbs, I know he played in the slot last year, but if Nate Hobbs, let's just say Nate Hobbs is shut down, why would we not put Nate Hobbs on, Stephon Diggs or Mike Evans or one of these guys when needed? Why not, even if it's not in the slot, line him up out wide if he's a shutdown corner? right? So Nate Hobbs is the one guy that I think is kind of like a wild card for me. He's that one guy that I have a lot of hope for. He's the one guy that I think has shown a lot of promise, right? So that is the one thing. Yeah, man. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I hope you guys can all hear me. Someone said, "What happened to the sound?" So I hope that that's not an issue. I'm gonna assume it's not. I see a lot of your guys' comments here. Um, let's get into more of these comments. Um, Justin Lawson said, "Can you put that link in the chat so I can subscribe, my friend?" I'm not sure which link you're talking about, to be exact. Um, But if I see your comment again, I will definitely put that. I see. So the link with the Madden channel. I don't have that link right now with me. I will pin it once this video is over to the top, or you guys can just click my profile and it's right there in my profile. You guys will be able to check that out. But I appreciate that, man. So the Madden channel, if you guys just click my YouTube channel, just go to the main page. You'll see it right there at the top. Let's get into some more of these questions. Mo Dizzle said, "How do you think the AFC West will look once the Broncos get that Walmart money? They will be able to afford more cash over cap and everyone. Right now, all AFC West owners' main revenue is football money." Here's the thing: the NFL is a hard cap. You cannot spend over the salary cap. Now, I guess the one thing you could think about is guaranteed money, although it still has to fit within the cap. Some owners, right, if you're wealthier, can give more upfront guaranteed money. So technically, you may be able to afford more players upfront, but at the end of the day, the salary cap is a hard cap. It's not the NBA, right? In the NBA, if you pay over the cap, you just pay a tax on that. I think in the NBA, if you spend $25 million over the cap, you have to pay like 3 times that to all the other teams or something like that, right? So it's not a hard cap in the NBA. MLB, there's no cap. You can spend as much money as you want. So the richest owners generally win. The NFL is not like that. And I think that's what makes the NFL such a great league, right? The NFL, every team has the same amount of money to spend. Plus, I know the Raiders historically have not had a ton of money, but I think that is changing. Being in Vegas, if the Raiders are bad, which obviously we're not, if the Raiders are bad, Mark Davis will still sell tickets because other teams, fans will still come to Vegas and they'll still buy tickets, right? It's the one benefit that Mark Davis has about being in Vegas. But regardless, you look at the AFC West. I do these videos every week. I don't think I did one this week, so maybe or last week, but I'll do one this week. Um, I actually like the Broncos a lot this year, man. I think people are sleeping on the Denver Broncos. I think Nathaniel Hackett is a really good coach. He's now the Broncos' new head coach. I think he was the Packers last year, I believe. I think he's a good coach. They're gonna run the wide zone, but the Broncos have a lot of playmakers on the offense of the ball. Of course, Russell Wilson comes in, but you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Cortland Sutton, even Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is a good wide receiver. I think he had like 700-800 yards last year. And keep in mind, that's what Drew Lock, right? Drew Lock was absolutely terrible. And then Javonte Williams, I think, is the one guy that people don't really think about. Javonte Williams may end up being a top 5 running back this year. You can make the argument he's better than Josh Jacobs based off of what he did last year on tape. He broke more tackles, had more yards after contact, did a lot of really good things. I think he was a second-round pick out of North Carolina last year in the draft, so he was just a rookie. He'll get better this year. Plus, I think the running scheme this year builds on what they had last year. Remember, it's a whole new regime, whole new coaching staff, but it's the same concept. They ran the wide zone last year. They're going to run the wide zone this year. So I think the Broncos are going to be legit this year. And remember, last year, their defense kept them in a lot of games. And I know some people say, well, that was because it was Vic Fangio and it was his scheme and system, which is true. But the Broncos still have good football players, man. Justin Simmons is a top safety. Patrick Surtain, they say, is going to be a top cornerback. So the Broncos still have a lot going. I think the Chiefs could end up being the worst team. Obviously, they still have a good coach, so we'll see what ends up happening. Chargers, I think, are a little overrated. I need them to prove it before I give them that credit. Recently, I don't know if you guys saw it, but ESPN did a ranking of their teams, who they think is the best team, who they think is the worst team, and they had the Chargers number 3, third best team in the entire league. They didn't make the playoffs last year, and yet they're the third best team in the entire league, which is just crazy. And I get they added Mack and J.C. Jackson, But I don't know. I'm not sold on their offensive playmakers. They did add a tight end that I really like, Gerald Everett, but I just don't see it yet. We'll see when that ends up happening. I appreciate the comment. Really, really good comment. Uh, Ollie Zine said, "Can you give us one move the Raiders should do? Minus trade Cleveland Barrow and free up some money." I don't know if the Raiders need more money. We have $21 million in cap space. I don't think we need more cap space. I do think we need to make another move for sure. Um, I don't know what the Raiders should do, to be honest. I would honestly go all in on a cornerback, man, 100%. Whatever cornerback is out there that may be available and I'm not talking about an average cornerback. I'm saying go out to get the next superstar cornerback. I don't know who that guy is. Give up a first round pick if that's what it takes and pay that guy. But the Raiders need a lockdown cornerback, man. Pass rushers can only go so far. At the end of the day, you put up Max Crosby against Rashawn Slater when we play the Chargers, and Rashawn Slater is going to be able to handle Max Crosby. You put up Chandler Jones against Teron Armstead. All right, Teron Armstead is going to be able to handle Chandler Jones. Pass rushers can only do so much because you can scheme those guys out. You have to have shutdown cornerbacks. I did an article about 2 or 3 years ago where I talked about why the Raiders should not have paid Khalil Mack, especially during a rebuild, and they should focus on the cornerback position. But basically, I feel that cornerbacks are more important than pass rushers. I think having great cornerbacks is you can have 2 shutdown corners. You look at the Saints as an example. The Saints have Marcus Peters and Marshawn Lattimore, and they blitz and they get after the quarterback using blitz and they man these cornerbacks up, and these cornerbacks force turnovers. They break up passes, and that's ultimately what allows the Saints to have success, right? In my opinion, I think cornerbacks is what the Raiders need to do. So I would go find who that next cornerback is. Maybe it's Tre'Davious White. Maybe it's someone else. But Jalen Ramsey went for 2 first-round picks. I would have loved for the Raiders to do that, man. That would have put us in instant. It would have given us an instant opportunity to make the Super Bowl with that type of player at cornerback. Maybe not 2 or 3 years ago when he initially got traded, but like this year, I think that is the one thing the Raiders are missing. Gabriel said, "I feel we upgraded at every position, including our coaching. So playoffs isn't some hope; it's an actual reality." That's probably the best comment that I've seen so far, man. It is a fact that the Raiders, playoffs are not a hope. The Raiders shouldn't hope to make the playoffs. We're gonna make the playoffs this year. If we don't make the playoffs, it would be because Derek Carr gets hurt and isn't able to play this year, or maybe the offensive line is really, really, really bad. And even the offensive line, let's be honest, the Cincinnati Bengals had the worst offensive line going into last year, and their left tackle developed into a really good left tackle. And just having a good left tackle allowed them to scheme up to protect Burrow a little bit more. And because of that, they're able to make the Super Bowl, right? So there's no reason why the Raiders, who already have a good left tackle, should have any excuses. Like from left guard, center, and right guard, those positions don't even matter because generally speaking, you have 3 guys that only have to block 2 guys. There's no reason why from left guard to right guard, it matters. That is why the Raiders aren't able to have success. Yes, the right tackle could be an issue, but you can always chip on that side. You can always just put a running back on that side. Even if he doesn't chip, at least it makes the defensive end feel that a chip could be coming. It'll slow him down a little bit. So yeah, I don't think there should be anything holding the Raiders back this year. We are so much better than we were at any point. Eric Delk said, "Thanks, Sanji. I like and comment on every video before even watching the video. Happy 4th, man." I appreciate that, man, for real. So I really, really, really do. Ollie said, "No, keep Leatherwood. Don't forget our left tackle had a horrible rookie season." That is fact. I appreciate all the comments. You guys have the best comments all the time. This is why I love to go live. Let me know what you guys think, though, man. Let me know what you guys think about the Raiders. Let me know what you guys think about some potential players we could bring in. I want to know what you guys think about the scheme. I did a video talking about the Raiders scheme, talking about Josh McDaniels and how he likes to run his scheme. I posted that to my other YouTube channel called The Football Scout. It's interesting, man. I have a lot of faith in Josh McDaniels. I think he's going to really be a good coach for the Raiders. Crujo said, "Happy birthday to Al." I hope it's Crujo, not Cruo. He said, "Happy birthday to Al." Big shout out to you, man, for being a member to the channel, man. Big shout out to you. Chicano Raider said, "Respect, Sanjeet. My parents from another country." Big shout out to you, man. Yeah, man. If you guys are just tuning in, I know before when I said this, there weren't as many people here, but I want to say Happy Fourth of July once again. I want to say Happy Fourth of July to everybody out there. We are in the best country in the world, and I think everyone should be very happy for that. My parents came from another country in 1991. I was born in 1993, but I've been to that country multiple times, and that country is not like this country, man. Things are different. Good, clean water, constant electricity, Wi-Fi, just some of the basic things that we think about that you have in this country that in other countries you don't have. You kind of take it for granted. But happy Independence Day to everyone, man. Happy Independence Day. I hope you guys are all able to spend time with your family, your friends, and celebrate today, man. And hopefully you guys are all off from work, man. I know there's some people out there that have to still work today, which definitely sucks. But let's get back into this, man. Let's get back into some Raiders talk. I see that we got a couple of super chats, so big shout out to you guys, man. You guys know super chats are always the way to help this channel grow. Super chats and memberships. I spent 10 hours making a video of Colton Miller, doing a film study of his, and to be honest, that video really didn't get that many views. Got like 4,000 views. I could have spent an hour making 10, or I could have made 10 videos, spending an hour making those 10 videos. And some of those videos get 10,000 views, right? And then I made this Colton Miller video. And I know a lot of you guys like those film studies, but it takes 10 hours. And memberships is what really makes me make those videos, because I see a lot of you guys' comments saying, hey, we want to see film studies and stuff like that. So when I get comments from members wanting film studies, I got to do it, So again, if you guys aren't members, consider joining, man. It definitely helps the channel. Let's get into some of these other comments though, man. You guys definitely have some interesting comments here. Ollie says, Sanjeet, my dad is from another country, and I thank God I'm American because we have it bad. I agree, man. I definitely agree with you. Greatest country in the world. James said, we are Super Bowl bound. Could not disagree with you. Eric said, who has the better year, Hobbs, Abram, or Averett? That's a great question right there, man. What do you guys think about that? Who's going to have the best year of the three? It's interesting where these three guys are at, right? Because with Nate Hobbs, we look at Nate Hobbs and say, is Nate Hobbs even a good cornerback? Or was he just part of the scheme? Was he just a Gus Bradley guy, right? Because we've seen these guys before. So is Nate Hobbs a legit corner? We're going to find that out. You look at Anthony Averett and you say, this guy, some people said for the Ravens was one of their best corners last year. Obviously, he was one of their only healthy corners. But they say he could be a really good football player. And then Jonathan Abram, it's like, is he ever going to be healthy, right? Is he going to be able to put together a full season? An interesting note on Jonathan Abram, I think this is the year he breaks out, right? We declined his fifth-year option, which means he may not be here next year. And I want people to really think about that. There is a good chance if Jonathan Abram is not healthy, he will not be with the Raiders. Now, at the same time, Jonathan Abram has the ability to make himself a ton of money this year. If he plays 17 games, has over 100 tackles, puts a good season together, he's going to get he's going to get paid. Not a lot of money, but he'll get paid $6, $7, $8 million. A bad season, and he'll be signing a $3 million contract for 1 year to try proving it again, right? So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited just to watch all of these guys, man. Miguel said, Nate Hobbs, I heard he got moved to safety. That was not true at all. There was a rumor out there about Nate Hobbs being moved to safety. He got listed as a safety, but the Raiders, like their team came out, like their PR team, and said that was a mistake on their end. So Nate Hobbs is not being moved to safety. It was a typo done by the Raiders. Probably some intern that did not really know the Raiders roster, didn't know what Nate Hobbs actually did. I don't know why they don't just say a guy is a slot cornerback, right? And I think maybe that was the issue with Nate Hobbs. Sometimes they'll list some guys as safeties, they'll list some guys as cornerbacks, and then they'll list some guys as DBs, which make no sense. Like, list the guy as a cornerback, a free safety, a strong safety, a slot corner. Like, just list it as what it is, man. I don't know. Kind of interesting. Kuro said, what did you think of Brett Favre's comments? I'm going to be honest, guys, man. Let me state this in a way where, let's be honest. Derek Carr has not proven himself yet to the tune of the way Aaron Rodgers has, right? Fact. Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl. He has multiple MVP seasons. Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Derek Carr, people argue, is even a top 10 quarterback, right? So here's the thing with Derek Carr. He has to go and put it together this year and prove himself this year. Brett Favre saying Davante Adams will not have the same type of year with Derek Carr that he had with Aaron Rodgers. I think there's a big part of it that Brett Favre fails to realize. If Davante Adams was Derek Carr's only weapon, Davante Adams will have 200 targets. He'll have 140 catches. He'll have 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns. But that's not the thing with the Raiders, right? The Raiders have a well-balanced offense. We have Darren Waller, a top 3 tight end. We have Hunter Renfrow, a top 3 slot wide receiver. We have Josh Jacobs, a top 10 running back. We have Kenyon Drake and Zamir White, Foster Moreau. We have like 8 different offensive pieces that can make plays. So Davante Adams, unlike when he was with the Packers, was like their only option they really had, minus Aaron Jones. That's not the case with the Raiders. We have a lot of different players. So when you think about it from that perspective, it doesn't make sense that Brett Favre wouldn't mention that, right? Brett Favre is basically saying the Raiders, Davante Adams will not have the same success with Derek Carr that he had with Aaron Rodgers, but he forgets to mention how many more playmakers, how much more the ball has to be shared with other players on this offense. So I hope that answers your guys' question. If the question is, do I think Derek Carr is better than Aaron Rodgers? The answer is no. Aaron Rodgers is obviously better than Derek Carr. But I think Brett Favre did not answer that or did not say the correct words. I think he wanted to just be a Green Bay Packers homer, in my personal opinion. Aunt Six Soldier said, what happened to the investigation into the Raiders? It is still ongoing. The Las Vegas Raiders Review Journal posted, I think, last week or something, talking to more people. If you guys don't know, the Raiders are, there's like a whole situation going on with the workplace misconduct. They said there was an accounting error last year, which led to the firing of some of our general managers, Dan Ventrell, Mark Bedane, most recently. But the thing is I don't think that's true. I think there is some toxic stuff going on within the work environment. I think there was a woman that was with the Las Vegas Raiders, a woman that spoke to the Las Vegas Raiders, or not the Las Vegas, I guess it's the Las Vegas Review Journal. And this woman went out and said something to the tune of how when she would come into work, she wouldn't feel comfortable wearing certain stuff because of certain things. Said that Mark Bedane was at the center of all the harassment and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with the investigation into the Raiders, but I will say this. Look at the Washington Commanders and kind of what is going on there. And if nothing happens there, I don't see why something would happen to the Raiders, right? Because the Washington Commanders situation is way worse. It's way further ahead. But never say never with what could potentially happen, right? I think it is something to keep an eye on. We'll see what ends up coming out in the next couple of months to maybe a year or so. So we'll see what ends up happening. Ollie Zian, thank you for correcting me. You said the MLB has a cap now. I did not know that. I don't follow baseball at all, as you guys can probably tell. And don't look at that and say that I follow baseball. I got that because I represent Oakland. But yeah, I don't follow baseball. So thank you for correcting me there. I didn't know the MLB has a salary cap. But if they do, that's good to hear that. Javier said, any news on our running backs who make it and how's Jacobs? So there was some rumors about Josh Jacobs being at MetLife Stadium. I made a video talking about how it's probably not a big deal. Basically, he was shooting something in the stadium. Some people say it was a commercial and stuff like that. I forget the official of what it was. He was definitely shooting something. Not a big deal, honestly. Our running backs are going to be interesting this year because I don't know if Zamir White is the future. Right, a 4th round pick being a future. I don't know. I don't know how I really feel about that because Josh Jacobs is still a 1st round pick and he's still a top 10 running back. You put Josh Jacobs in the open space, you put Davante Adams in the open space, you put Hunter Renfrow in the open space, put Darren Waller in the open space. The one guy that wins is Josh Jacobs 100% of the time. I don't know if those other 3 guys win, right? My point is Josh Jacobs is our best playmaker with the ball in his hands in the open space. Josh Jacobs is the best playmaker. So I don't know. I know some people don't like Josh Jacobs, and I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a big fan either, specifically because he isn't very explosive. He doesn't have the speed. And we spent a 1st round pick on him. And I know that's not Josh Jacobs' fault, right? Our drafting value strategy was pretty poor under John Gruden. But we'll see what ends up happening now. I think Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, and Zamir White are going to be the 3 running backs this year. Potentially Bolden could make it as well, but I wouldn't bet that he's going to 100% make it. I think he's like 7 or 8 years in the league. So I don't know if he's going to 100% make it. Uh, Gabby said, "Can you explain the McDaniels offensive scheme to me? I only hear it's same as the Pats. Has been, but the only thing that stayed the same with them is they change every week to match their opponent." So first and foremost, I did an entire breakdown of Josh McDaniels' offensive scheme. If you guys go to YouTube and just put in Josh McDaniels scheme, and then right next to that put in the Football Scout, it'll take you to my second YouTube channel. I broke it down, man. I really got into it thoroughly, spoke about it. Here's the thing with Josh McDaniels' scheme. He runs the Earnhardt Perkins scheme. That's kind of what it's built around. When you talk about football, if you guys played high school football, you guys know that most high schools run the route tree, right? It's a numbering system, 1 through 9. Most teams run this numbering system. The Earnhardt Perkins scheme is not with numbers. Instead, we're gonna run concepts. Right? They're gonna have one guy do a slant route. They're gonna have one guy do an out route. One guy runs a hitch. One guy runs a vertical. Stuff like that, right? They're concepts, and that's kind of how Josh McDaniels is gonna run his offensive scheme. He's gonna base it around concepts. And I like that idea. I like that approach. At the same time, on the offensive ball, we're not going to run zone. As you guys know, when we ran the ball last year, we ran the inside zone. This year, we're going to run the power scheme. Some people refer it to as the gap scheme, specifically with an emphasis on it. We're going to use a lot of duo blocking. It's a little bit more into the type of way you run schemes, run the power, I should say. So we'll run a lot of duo this year. So it's going to be a lot of power football. Our strongest guys right there in the middle, right? Denzel Good, John Simpson, whoever else ends up starting for the Raiders. We're going to get that power going. And that's one of the reasons why people aren't sure if it's going to be Andre James, right? Because we're going to be running the power offense, which means you got to move people. And I don't know if Andre James can do that. We'll obviously see what ends up happening. But we're going to run a lot of power. We're going to do a lot of motions. We'll use fullbacks. From a personnel perspective, Josh McDaniels likes to run, I think it was 56% of the time. He likes to run the 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers, about over 50% of the time. So most of the time, we'll have Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, at least those 3 guys on the field, and then we'll have another wide receiver, whoever that ends up being with Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Over 50% of the time, that's what we'll be running. I guess that's just a quick, broad answer to your question. I hope that answers your question. But check the video out, man. I spent like 5 or 6 hours making that video. It's on my second YouTube channel. You guys can go to it by clicking my channel. If you guys see my name wherever it is on the if you're watching via your phone or on a laptop or whatever, click my name, go to my channel. You'll see it right there at the top. It's called the Football Scout. It's like the 3rd or 4th video from the newest one. So you guys can check that out. Prodigy said Javonte Williams looks like a dog. If you guys are into fantasy football, man, Javonte Williams is the guy this year to get. I don't know where he goes in terms of does he go in the 1st or 2nd round? I don't know, but he's the guy to get this year, man. I really think so. Eric said he runs more screens and will get the most out of Waller. I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to, but I totally agree with you, man. Totally agree with you. Let's get into some more of these super chats. Hilario Nunez said, "It's my birthday. Happy birthday, Al Davis." Shout out to you, man. Happy birthday, Hilario. Today's a great day to be born on, man, and have a birthday. Great day. Big shout out to you for the super chat. Happy birthday to you, Raider Nation for life. Robert said, "Great job. Love the channel. Happy birthday, Al Davis." Big shout out to you, man. I really appreciate the super chat. I really do. And I appreciate the love, man. I really do appreciate it. You know, one of the things that I see that I kind of want to talk about a little bit, Tycho Nova Von Taco Cat said we should have kept Marcus Mariota. You know, what I really look forward to this year is to watch, Marcus Mariota is going to start for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Desmond Ridder, the rookie quarterback that they drafted this year, I think in the 3rd round, he looks really good. Some people are saying that he may end up starting, like he may beat out Marcus Mariota. But if that does not happen, we're going to get to see Marcus Mariota for the Atlanta Falcons. I want to see what Mariota has. Let's just be honest. If Derek Carr doesn't have success this year and Marcus Mariota leads the Falcons into the playoffs, we're going to realize that we made a mistake. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think the Raiders are too talented not to make the playoffs, and I think Derek Carr's a good quarterback. but we're gonna get to see because I know there's maybe it's like 25% of Raider Nation that wanted Marcus Mariota as their quarterback, and we're gonna find out what type of quarterback he actually is. Mariota's in what, year 5, 6, or 7, or something like that. He has a lot of experience at this point. We're gonna find out if he can take them. Now, of course, luckily for Marcus, he has, in my opinion, the best tight end in the league in Kyle Pitts. I know some people may not agree with that, but you will in about a year or two. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be the best tight end in the league. I think he's already the best tight end. But Marcus Mariota is going to have Kyle Pitts. He'll have Drake London, who they just took with the 8th overall pick in the draft this year. Then they also have Bryan Edwards. And they have another wide receiver. And all these guys are like 6'3" and taller. So imagine guarding these guys. Pitts is 6'6". Bryan Edwards is 6'3". Cordell Patterson 6'3", and he's like the running back / slot guy. Drake London is 6'4". They have another wide receiver that's 6'4" too. So it's going to be hard to cover these guys, and Mariota's going to be throwing to these guys. I mentioned that because this is the first time we've seen a team build around weapons that are all like 6'3", 6'4". We haven't really seen this type of concept before in the league, but this could take over the league, man. If these 5'10" cornerbacks can't cover these 6'4" wide receivers, every other team's going to start stacking up these 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers. So just keep an eye on it. It's something that's kind of interesting. It's something that we haven't seen in the past, right, from a schematic perspective. So the Falcons are trying something different this year. We'll see how it works out for them. Thank you for the comment. I really appreciate it. Robert said, I'm interested to see where Nate Hobbs ends up. I also think Rocky Sin and Anthony Avery will potentially do better in Graham and other coaches to potentially become a shutdown corner. Why is it a no for you? Thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. I want to see what Nate Hobbs ends up doing, right? That the first and foremost. I don't know if Nate Hobbs is going to be the corner we saw last year. Now, Trayvon Merrick, on the other hand, also a rookie last year, is the real deal. I'm confident in saying that Merrick is going to have so much success this year. Now, he does have one or two things he needs to develop on, which I think he will develop this year. But I want to see what Rocky Sin and Anthony Everett do in the Graham defense. Here's the thing. Rocky Sin was traded because he did not fit the Gus Bradley scheme. And I think that was a major mistake by the Indianapolis Colts. I get they wanted Yannick Ngakoue, and that's going to help their pass rush. But they also drafted Kwity Paye from Michigan like a year or two ago or whatever. He's going to year 2 this year, and Kwity Paye should be able to take that next step. He's a defensive end. Then they also have DeForest Buckner and Danico Autry, who's a former Raider. They already had a good defensive line, and I think adding Yannick Ngakoue doesn't move the needle that much for the Colts. I think they should have kept Rocky Sin unless they're certain they have another replacement at cornerback. But the reason why they got rid of Rocky Sin was because of the fact that they brought in Gus Bradley, who plays zone, right? He plays the cover 3 scheme. He did that with the Raiders just last year. But my point is Rocky Sin is a man coverage corner, so I think Patrick Graham makes sense for him. He's going to have more success with Graham than he would with anyone else. Same with Anthony Everett. The Ravens run a man scheme concept, so now he's coming to the Raiders, and we'll see if under Patrick Graham he can continue that. Graham has had a lot of success in the past. Some people love what Graham does from a scheme perspective. Some people believe that he knows how to coach defense. We're going to find out this year, man, if he really does. And I appreciate the comment. I really do appreciate the comment. Gabby said, like Gru was a variation of West Coast with a lot of his own spin on it, but more or less all revolving around shorter, more horizontal routes with Yak. Heavy run focus in PA. What does Josh? I hope my answer to your question last time answered it, but check out the video if you guys haven't already. A Prodigy says, Yo, Sanji, out of all the position groups, which do you think changes the most from last year to this year? In a positive way, it has to be the offensive line. Like, there's no way you could be a bottom 10 line last year and have that happen again this year when, more than half the guys are going from their first year starting into their second year starting, right? So we'll end up seeing what ends up happening, but I think the O-line gets the best. Which positions group gets the worst? I don't know. Like, where do we really get worse at? Like, what position do we really get worse at? Maybe the defensive backs aren't as good this year, which, I guess I don't even know if they're good last year, right? I don't know if you can get worse this year anywhere. Like, every single unit got better, right? Maybe the O-line gets worse if the right tackle can't produce, as I guess Brandon Parker sucked too. So I don't know. That's an interesting question. Maybe someone else can answer that question. Um, let's get into a couple more of these. Jude said, "Do you think Kevin King can be our number one corner or bust?" The thing with Kevin King is Kevin King has only played more than 11 games in 1 year. I think he's been in the league for like 4 or 5 years at this point. So Kevin King cannot stay healthy. And if you can't stay healthy, you can't be a number one cornerback. And I would not want to take that risk of him becoming a number one cornerback. Until he is healthy, I would not sign a guy like that. Of course, some people may say, let's give him the opportunity and see if he can turn it around because he is a good cornerback for sure when healthy. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Happy 4th of July to you, Jose. I appreciate the comment. Carlos said, my apologies, Sanji, and happy Independence Day. Brother, freedom, Raider Nation for life. I want to see who makes the team. Raider Nation for life, championship. Let's go, man. I appreciate the comment. I really do appreciate that. This is the year, man. I'm telling you guys right now, this is the year. R. Ramos said, what are the chances we pick up Sue and Odell? To pick up both of those guys, I think it has to be slim. 15-20%. I don't know, to pick up both of those guys. Now, to pick up one of those guys, maybe like 30-35%. The thing with Sue is I think Sue is more interested in the Raiders than the Raiders are interested in Sue. Can it happen? Absolutely, right? Why could it not happen? But I don't know. I just feel like if Sue was going to be a Raider, he would already been a Raider. Because let's be honest, doesn't he have to learn the playbook? Why wait until training camp comes around or preseason comes around to start teaching him the playbook? Let him start learning now, right? Sign him now if you're truly interested in him. Odell Beckham, on the other hand, I think the Raiders need to get another wide receiver like Beckham, like Julio Jones, right? Like Will Fuller, right? Get one of these guys that is a difference maker, right? Get one of these guys that can come in and absolutely have a difference for the Raiders. The Raiders got to go all in, man. Sue, Julio, Odell, got to get another guy. Let's see what ends up happening. Let's get into more of these comments. Kuho said Favre has early onset Alzheimer's. The nation's own, the AFC West has been way more competitive than the NFC North for just about Rodgers' entire career. That's a good point, right? It's definitely been a competitive division for sure. I remember, I don't know, maybe like 6 years ago when the pass rushers were like super insane. I think at one point the Raiders had Khalil Mack and Aldon Smith. I believe it was Aldon Smith. The Chargers had Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. The Chiefs had Frank Clark and someone else. Even the Broncos had Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. Like we had this crazy pass rushing in our division, and we still have that technically this year, right? It might even be better this year because we got Mack and then Bosa, of course, the Chargers. We got Chandler Jones and Max Crosby here, and obviously the Chiefs and Broncos have their guys. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's very interesting. I obviously appreciate the comments. Robert Chain said Josh Jacobs is great under 20 yards. That's the issue with Josh Jacobs, right? He is great under 20 yards. Josh Jacobs is, he just doesn't have that elusive speed yet. Let's hope this is the year that he can develop that. The Raiders took Josh Jacobs with Miles Sanders on the board, David Montgomery on the board. Some people think David Montgomery is the best running back out of that class. Some people think it's Miles Sanders. A lot of people don't think it's Josh Jacobs, but I think it's Josh Jacobs, man. I think Josh Jacobs is the best running back. He just has to prove it. And he has to break away this year. I think last year, Josh Jacobs had 2 carries longer than 40 yards. That's not acceptable, man. You got to have some 40-yard runs. You got to be a game changer. It's great that he can pick up 4 or 5 yards on every play, but we need we need a drive where, maybe it's Darren Waller catches a 5-yard pass and just takes it 70 yards. Or Josh Jacobs takes it 80 yards. Or Davante Adams takes it 70 yards. And just take it the house. Take it the distance. I hate that we always have to drive 5 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, because that doesn't work, right? You need to have those explosive plays. Being able to always having to drive downfield without those explosive plays leads to field goals. It's going to lead to field goals, right? So hopefully this year we get that out of some of our playmakers. The nation's own said doubt Rodgers' career numbers would be the same 6 games against the Lions, Vikings, and Bears. Oh my! Well, the Vikings are pretty good, and they've been good for a while, but the Lions and Bears are not that good. So I definitely agree with you on that one. Crujo, thank you for the $10 super chat. Big shout out to you. You said DC is going to have a second chance like Rich Gannon did. He needs to make the best of it like Rich did. He has the tools. Hopefully that line up, or hopefully the line holds up and win however it takes, run, throw, etc. See, and that's such a great comment right there because let's be honest, right? 25% of Raider Nation fans don't like Derek Carr. And it's not, and I won't use the word hate because I think that's the wrong word, right? We all support our team. At the end of the day, we're all Raider fans first, right? But then at the same time, you look at Derek Carr and you say, this guy has all the tools, as Crujo mentions, because he does, right? Derek Carr can throw a 15-yard out route within 2 yards every time. Derek Carr could hit a guy running a post curl or whatever it may be, right? Every time he'll hit him in stride. But then Derek Carr does some things, and you say, why the hell did he do that, right? Third or fourth down plays, he'll throw the ball out of bounds, right? He gets pressured sometimes, and he won't make those extra plays, right? But then when we really need him to step up, he does it, right? So he's kind of all over the place. So we need him to be consistent this year. And the thing is what he did last year and then even the year before that at certain times, you say this guy is a superstar player. And this is the year because this is the year that we finally got him some weapons. We haven't historically always given Derek Carr some weapons, but we finally have done it. And I do think this is going to be the year that Derek Carr really puts it together. And if he doesn't put it together, this is the year that Derek Carr, let's be honest, is going to get a lot of hate. If Derek Carr wins 7 games this year and he plays the entire year, and most of our guys have been healthy the entire year, and Davante Adams has 750 yards, Hunter Renfrow has 750 yards, this is the year that Derek Carr is going to get so much pressure if he does not have success. Now, it's one thing if you win, 10 games and you miss the playoffs. That would be okay. But if you win 7 games with the team we have right now, Derek Carr is going to get a lot of pressure and hate, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is the year that Derek Carr does put it together. And I think, saying, oh, Derek Carr only won 7 games because his O-line couldn't protect him or, his coaching wasn't that good are not going to be valid excuses, right? At the end of the day, there are no excuses. Even if it's just your right tackle that gave up 12 sacks, that's not an excuse. There are teams that have overcome a offensive lineman giving up 12 sacks, right? And obviously, I don't think 12 sacks is going to happen because even the offensive lineman in the NFL that gives up the most sacks in the last 10 years, the only guy that's given up more than 12 sacks is Colton Miller when he gave up like 16, 17 a couple years back. 12 sacks is a lot of sacks. I don't think any of our guys are going to give 12. In fact, I think Alex Leatherwood's going to be a good player. I've seen too many good reps from him for him not to be a good player. I think the speed of the game just needs to slow down. I think his mental processing needs to speed up, and I think this is the year that's going to happen. So I think it's going to happen this year, man. And I do appreciate the $10 super chat. It really does mean a lot. Because it really does support the channel, man. Believe it or not, it really does. So big shout out to you. Algotarian 207 says, Sanjit, do you think Dave Ziegler will sign Dont'a Hightower? I think there's a good chance, man. I think there's a good chance that they sign Dont'a Hightower. I've heard in the past that the Raiders had brought him in and spoken with him. And maybe it wasn't they brought him into the building exactly. Maybe they met him somewhere. They spoke to him somewhere. They've spoken to Dont'a Hightower. Now, Hightower obviously is up there in age, but he's still a good football player, right? He's still a downhill guy that can get after. He can do some things, can force some turnovers, and he's super smart. And I'm not saying Denzel Perryman isn't smart. I'm not saying Jaden Brown isn't smart. I just think that linebacker is a position where you get injuries. Linebacker is like running back and fullback. It's a tough position, right? Like you're hitting offensive linemen, you're hitting running backs and fullbacks at full speed. It's just a position where you're going to get hurt, right? So I think this is the year where you have to have 4 or 5 linebackers, right? We have 3 linebackers that have faith in right now. Jane Brown, Divine Diablo, and Perryman. But I'm not sold on Perryman yet, right? Again, scheme fit is a big thing, and I know he did well last year, but he didn't make the Pro Bowl last year because he had 8 interceptions and 10 pass breakups. That's not why he made the Pro Bowl. Denzel Perryman last year made the Pro Bowl because he had over 100 tackles. He was all over the football field making tackles. I think tackles are overrated, right? It really doesn't matter. But yeah, I think Dante Hightower is the guy they should get, even if he's like linebacker number 4 going into the season. You never know if you can use him. Plus, I feel like with this scheme, Patrick Graham's scheme, I think he could be a good person to bring in. John Smith at SI. So I'm assuming you responded to someone said, "Is there really a debate if Rodgers is a better quarterback than Carr?" SI, I guess, is defending Derek Carr, saying that Carr had to wait till 2016 and he proved to you he's elite and went 12-4 as the best quarterback in the league at that time until he got the season-ending injury. Matt Ryan won the MVP. Um, so SI apparently is supporting that Derek Carr is better than Aaron Rodgers. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Is Derek Carr better than Aaron Rodgers? That's a crazy question to ask, but some people may believe that. I understand. We're super passionate fans. We're super passionate about this roster and this team. Let me know what you guys think. Jesus said, correction, they had Mack and Irving. I think you are right on that. My bad. They had Bruce Irving and Khalil Mack, although I do think they had Aldon Smith, and maybe that was years prior because I know we had Navarro Bowman at one point. Maybe that was under Reggie McKenzie, although I think Bruce Irving was also under that Jack Del Rio, Reggie McKenzie era. But I appreciate the comment. Thank you very, very, very much. Tiger Mobile said Jonathan Abram is going to eat. I totally agree with you, man. 100% agree with you. I think this is the year Jonathan Abram is 100% going to eat. Big shout out to Ty Davis, man. He said, "What up, Sanji? I caught you live. Yay." Big shout out to you, man. I've seen your comments, and I know you always miss my live videos, so I'm glad you're able to tune in. Crew Joe, thank you. Or Crew Joe or Crew Ho, Sanji. Well, I appreciate it, man. I do appreciate the fact that you are a member, man. Big shout out to you, and I appreciate your comments. Soon, probably in the next month or so, I'm gonna have a video where I'm gonna have some of you members coming on. So if you guys are not members, make sure to become a member because I'm gonna see if I can do different videos, and it'll be a public video. Anyone can watch it, but basically it'll be for members, or it'll be for members to join me, and we'll just talk Raiders. We'll talk live, and we'll kind of go over it. Maybe we'll bring like 6 people on. If you guys don't have posts turned on, right, like community posts on YouTube, make sure you have those turned on. It's pretty easy to figure it out because I will put a community post out there for members to join. I'll just need you guys to like emails or something like that, and we'll bring you guys on. That way we can have like some legit Raiders talk. So yeah, man, big shout out to you. We have another super chat here. King 85 says, "What do you think we never got details of Josh and Dave's contract, or why do you think?" This is my opinion on this, right? And I don't know if it's out there, but I haven't personally seen anything. But here's the thing with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler's contracts. If when John Gruden signed his 10-year, $100 million contract, it became the talk. Everyone talked about it. Oh, this guy got $100 million. Oh, this guy this guy that. I think we maybe just don't want it to be a distraction. Not that it's going to be a 10-year, $100 million contract, but I think Mark Davis maybe just doesn't want it to be a big deal. I don't know if the contract's out there, but I'm sure Josh McDaniels got close to $10 million a year. And maybe not exactly 10, maybe it's like 6 or 7, but that's close to 10 million still, right? I don't know. It's definitely an interesting question. Maybe we'll look into it. Maybe there are some details somewhere around the internet. You can almost find anything out there. So we'll look into it. But I do appreciate the super chat. Raider Dame, big shout out to you for the $5 super chat. You didn't leave a message. So if you have a question or comment, just put it right now in the comments below, and I'll see it and we'll get into that. Ty Davis said Aaron Rodgers has been in the league like 9 years longer than DC4. Can't really compare the two. So here's the thing. You are technically right, and I do technically agree with what you're saying. Aaron Rodgers today is a better quarterback than Derek Carr, right? But Aaron Rodgers also has 9 more years than DC or whatever. Right? He has more experience, has more years than Derek Carr does. So Derek Carr, in let's just say 9 years, once he ends up being at where Aaron Rodgers is in his career, he could be a better quarterback. We don't know, right? What if Derek Carr wins 3 Super Bowls? Are we going to say that Aaron Rodgers with 1 Super Bowl is better than Derek Carr with potentially 3 Super Bowls, right? So I think it's all going to come down to the fact that who has the most Super Bowls? Who has the most success, right? And I think that if you look at it from that perspective, um, if Derek Carr has winning seasons over the next couple of years, then we have to say he's better than Aaron Rodgers, right? It's the same. It's the same argument people make with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. For those of us that are old enough to have watched both quarterbacks, from a perspective of just watching these guys out there on the field, the way they read, process, see things, the way that, let's be honest, right? Tom Brady was lucky to have Bill Belichick. We all know that if we watch both guys, most of us would say that Peyton Manning was the better pure passer, the guy able to read the field, right? But the difference with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady is Tom Brady had Bill Belichick, one of the 2 or 3 greatest coaches of all time. Peyton Manning's never had that. Now, Tom Brady has what? 6 Super Bowls? I think 6. Don't quote me on that. 6 or maybe 7. At the same time, you look at Peyton Manning, he has what, 2 or 3 Super Bowls? So there's no question that right now we say Tom Brady is better because he has more Super Bowls. But some of us would still say that Peyton Manning was a better pure quarterback. My point is this, right? Most people agree Tom Brady is better because he has more wins. So if Derek Carr ends up with 3 Super Bowls in the next 9 years, is Aaron Rodgers still better than Derek Carr, right? And I think that could be the one argument that you can make. Now, of course, that is depending on if Derek Carr actually gets there, if he actually wins, right? And I think a big part of winning Super Bowls is your team. How good is your team? Do you have closers, finishers, guys that can end the game when needed? Remember, Joe Burrow Joe Burrow went downfield and scored a touchdown. Matthew Stafford answered. And then when Joe Burrow started his next drive, who ended that game? Was it Matthew Stafford that went out there and pressured Joe Burrow? No. It was Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald ripped right past that guard and got to Joe Burrow on 4th down. Burrow got hit. The ball came out. And the Rams won the game, right? And that's going to be the same thing for DC. If DC wants to win, he needs guys to be able to get out there to make plays. Remember, it was Malcolm Butler, a cornerback, that intercepted a pass from Russell Wilson on the 2-yard line. It was their kicker, Adam Vinatieri, that kicked the field goal to help them win a Super Bowl, right? Never forget, it's not just Tom Brady that's just going out there and destroying everyone, right? So Derek Carr could absolutely have success too, but it's going to really rely on if his guys can kind of help him and help him get over the top. Ultimately, will he get there? Who knows? But if Derek Carr has more Super Bowls in the next 9 years than Aaron Rodgers, who's to say that Derek Carr isn't the better quarterback? But we're going to find that out. Now, Ali Zine says, just ask yourself, would you have Carr or Rodgers starting? Rodgers all day for me. And that's the question, right? Is today, who would you rather have? Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers? Let's just say they're both 30 years old, right? And you can have the next for the next 10 years. On the current Raiders roster, I would take Aaron Rodgers over Derek Carr. And that's not saying that Derek Carr isn't a good quarterback. That's just saying Aaron Rodgers is the better passer, right? Aaron Rodgers is Peyton Manning to Derek Carr, who may be Tom Brady, right? I think Peyton Manning's the better thrower, which I think Aaron Rodgers is the better thrower. I think his release is a little bit better. But I think the thing that separates Rodgers and Carr is what Rodgers does when it comes to off-script plays, right? Rodgers does not care if he's going to take a huge hit. If he rolls to the right, he'll make a play. And even if he takes a huge hit, he's okay with that. I haven't seen Derek Carr consistently do that, right? And this will be the year that we'll see if Derek Carr can do that. But I appreciate the comment from you, Ty. Ali, appreciate you as well. Madizzle said, is DC a Hall of Famer with 1 Super Bowl? He has all the Raiders records. I don't know. I don't know if Derek Carr would be a Hall of Famer with 1 Super Bowl. You know, I hate people who use stats, right? In terms of passing yards, right? I hate people who use passing yards. That too, saying, you know, Derek Carr has all the records in this era of football, right? And they compare it to people of the Raiders history from 40 years ago or 20 years ago, right? We know that 20 years ago, the game of football was not what it is today. From a schematic perspective, it's not the same, right? Today, people draw up all these crazy schemes and these crazy plays that people didn't even think about 40 years ago, right? Today, we have the easiest rules it's ever been to play football. Today, the league pushes you to throw the ball more than run the football because throwing the football, you score more points, and that's what the league wants. They want teams to score 100 points, right, in a game between the two teams. Is Derek Carr a Hall of Famer with 1 Super Bowl? I don't know, right? I think Derek Carr would have to have he would have to, his touchdown to interception ratio would have to be much higher. He would have to throw 40 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, right? Throwing 27 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, that's not a Hall of Fame player, right? Even if you win a Super Bowl. Now, if Derek Carr throws for 6,000 yards, he throws for 50 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and we win the Super Bowl, you could make the argument he's a Hall of Famer. He just hasn't shown it yet. That could all change this year, and I think a lot of that will change this year. Obviously, we'll also find out, is Derek Carr the future of the Las Vegas Raiders for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years? I think this year is going to be very important, man. If he wins 6 or 7 games and we fail to have success, is there an excuse for that? All right. And again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Derek Carr is too good of a player. And I think this roster is too good to not allow that to happen. Unless Davante Adams and Waller and Carr or, Max Crosby, unless these guys get hurt, I don't see how the Raiders don't end up making the playoffs. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. Definitely a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there, man. Best country in the world. Best day in the world. Happy birthday to Al Davis. And I hope you guys enjoyed this live video. I definitely plan to go live more often. If you guys are not subscribed, by the way, to my second YouTube channels, click my profile. Make sure you guys subscribe to both of those channels. We'll be putting out a lot of content on those. Thumbs up. And I'll see you guys next time with